Hello, this is Yogeshwar 7000 again, and I'm back with another important topic. And we've been talking about transits, not a lot in detail in my earlier videos. I think in my series on Sun, we started with Sun in the first house, and hopefully you enjoyed that video. And today we'll be talking about transit of Sun in the second house. Now, transits are extremely important. Of course, we do consider the dashas and the antardashas and the pratyantardashas, which are the main periods, the sub-periods, and the sub-sub-periods, whenever we look at a planet influencing a particular individual. And but then at the same time, the transits should not be ignored. The dasha system is based on the Vimshottari dasha system, meaning which when a person was born, the planet moon was at a particular situation or at a particular place in a particular nakshatra, and that determines the Vimshottari dasha system, and that unfolds your destiny as you progress along your life. But at the same time, the planets are going around. It's called gochara in Sanskrit, which is nothing but transits. So planets are transiting around the planet Earth, and of course, Sun, as we know, is a star. It's not a planet, but in Vedic astrology, we consider Sun as a planet. Moon is a moon, which goes around the planet Earth, but we consider Moon also as a planet. So these transits are extremely important because these planets, the 9 planets, other than the planet Earth, keep going around the Earth, because we are sitting here on Earth. So relative terms, although we know that astronomically all the planets go around the Sun, but then sitting here from Earth, relatively, it is the planets, including the Sun and the Moon, which go around the Earth, and that's how we consider their transits and how they influence our lives. So transits are extremely important. And as we were discussing about Sun, we already discussed about Sun in the first house. Today we'll be talking about Sun in the second house, and as we know that Sun travels the entire zodiac of 360 degrees. As we know, the zodiac is 360 degrees, which constitute of 12 houses or zodiac signs, which constitute of 30 degrees each, and it goes around the entire zodiac in approximately 1 year. So it travels around one zodiac, or it travels through one zodiac sign of 30 degrees in approximately 1 month. And we consider Sun as a very important transit, just because of the fact that it's a very important planet as far as the bala is concerned. And I'm going to discuss about balas and which planets in general have a bigger bala, means strength in Sanskrit, and how important they are, because they are, stronger in terms of their influences on our lives based on Vedic astrology. So Sun should not be ignored, especially in transits, and especially the fact that it keeps jumping from one zodiac to another zodiac sign in approximately 1 month. So what is the influence of Sun in the second house? And by the way, when we consider transits as per Vedic astrology, we consider the transits, or the gochara as it's called in Sanskrit, from the placement of the natal moon. So go to the main chart, look at where the natal moon is placed, meaning where was the position of moon at the time of your birth, and then consider the transit of Sun, which is happening in present times, from that placement of the moon, meaning which look at that particular zodiac sign where Sun was placed at the time of your birth, and then the Sun's transit, in this case Sun's, it could be any planet, but we are talking about Sun today. So look at the movement of Sun into the zodiac sign from the natal moon, or where moon was placed at the time of birth. Say for example, if moon was placed in Scorpio at the time of your birth, so if we are considering Sun's transit into the second house, for you in particular, not for everybody, you will consider the second house as when the transit or the gochara is happening in the zodiac sign of Sagittarius. So look at, if in case sun was in case moon was placed in Scorpio as an example, then sun will move to the second house from your natal moon when it's in the zodiac sign of Sagittarius. So what are the effects? And by the way, do not ignore, look at the gochara or transit from the natal moon, and also look at the transits from the ascendant, also from your Lagna chart or the Rashi chart as some people call it. So look at where moon was placed at the time of the birth and look at the transits from there, and also do not ignore the transits from the ascendant. That is extremely important as per the experience of certain very senior astrologers. Of course, in the text, mostly gochara transits are considered based on the movement or the transit of the planets from the natal moon. So what happens exactly when sun transits your second house? Like I said, look at the moon and look at also the ascendant. As we know, what is the signification of the second house? So first look at what the signification of the second house is. And as we know that the signification of the second house is about family, and sometimes it's considered to be a significator of profession as well. Of course, we know profession is the 10th house, but then sometimes second house also becomes the significator of profession, family, and also finance. Money matters, the second house. So how is sun going to affect the second house? As we know, sun, we cannot consider sun as a malefic planet, but we can consider sun as a Krura is also considered as a cruel planet. So, you know, some astrologers call it Krura, some astrologers call it malefic, but it has a malefic influence because, as we know, that sun is extremely hot. Planets which come under the close distance from the sun get combust and lose their power. The sun, wherever it's placed, it has, in terms of a zodiac sign, it becomes extremely, it influences that particular zodiac house, or the particular zodiac sign rather, to a great extent because of the power of the sun, the heat of the sun. So let's consider for a moment sun is a malefic, and obviously if it's a malefic, it'll have adverse effects to the second house. So if it's transiting or moving into the second house, either from moon or sometimes the ascendant as well, the natal ascendant and the natal moon, give more importance to the moon, like I said, as per the text, astrological text. Then there is a challenge related to money matters, and it could, you know, culminate into having challenges related to money, wealth, and especially people who are in the business of money, like stocks and, you know, banks and financial institutions, you know, people who are in the business of giving out loans. So that is, and of course the profession, other than the profession, the family matters also suffers. Now family matter is very closely related to marriage and relationships as well. As we know that marriage and relationships fall under the purview of the 7th house, but since, you know, a person gets married, he starts a family, so the family gets affected, the marriage and relationships also could get affected, which necessarily does not mean the spouse only, but it could generally mean, you know, anybody who's related to you, like your cousins, your family, your near and dear ones, of course your wife, your children. That also will face a lot of challenges. So when it's family matters, sometimes, you know, your social image also gets affected. So that also, you know, you have to remember that it's a major malefic, and that's how its influence is going to be, as far as sun is concerned. You know, hot and malefic planet. Like I said, I don't want to use the word malefic because the malefics are some of the planets like more on Mars and Rahu and Ketu and Saturn. Sun, you know, is a sattvic planet. And people who have not watched my videos on what a sattva guna is, what a tamas guna and what rajas guna is. So that's the reason why, since it's so sattvic, I don't want to use the word malefic, but it's hot, so it has malefic influences. We have to remember that. So that's another challenge you will face as far as the transit of sun goes into the second house from the moon or the natal moon, and also sometimes look at it from the ascendant, or the ascendant, your ascendant as per your natal chart or your lagna chart, as to say. Sometimes there could be eye troubles as well. That is very major, because sun is representative of light and it's directly connected to the eyes. So the second house transit, also be very careful as far as eyes are concerned. And sometimes, since its second house is a maraka house as well, so challenges to health also. But don't just come to a conclusion based on just one transit. There could be planets which are transiting your other houses. Some transits are happening by benefic planets. Some transits are happening in other houses as far as malefic planets are concerned. So a sum total has to be taken. Just don't look at sun and its transit and then come to a conclusion. So astrology is very vast. It's like an ocean. So don't come to a conclusion pretty quick on that. Try to look at it from all angles. But as far as transits are concerned, especially related to sun, which we are talking today, this could be a challenging. So we talked about profession, we talked about finance, we talked about family matters, we talked about relationships, children, spouse, and of course health in specific terms, because it's a marka house, and also in specific terms the challenge is related to eyesight, because sun, like I said, it's about prakash, light, and eyes directly related to sun. And then according to some astrologers, it's not a great time for travel as well, because of the influence, the maraka, or the death, it's transiting the death inflicting house. So just be very careful. There could be accidents, and it's a hot planet, so be extremely careful on that front as well. So what are the remedies? Of course, the remedies for sun are we discussed about Aditya Hridaya Stotram, which is a very important stotram. I've created or made a video on that earlier, so people who have not watched that, please go and watch that video. The Gayatri mantra is directly related to the sun. The Vedic and the Tantric mantras of sun also could be used, but I'm just telling you as a general remedy. Do not try it or experiment with it. Take the guidance of an expert Vedic scholar or an astrologer before you take any of these remedies related to the Gayatri mantra, the Aditya Hridaya Stotram, the Vedic mantra of sun, the Tantric mantra of sun, and any other remedies which could be related to the Lal Kitab remedies, or there are various remedies as per various astrological texts. But take it, my advice is take all these remedies under the guidance of an expert Vedic astrologer. So hopefully you enjoyed this little video on the transit of sun into the second house, more so from the moon, the natal moon, as compared to the lagna chart from the ascendant. And in the meanwhile, I will recommend subscribe to my channel, check out my website, there is a link below, and I will see you with an interesting topic very soon. Goodbye.